Hello everybody, welcome to the Ultimate Scouting Show. Thank you guys so much for joining me here. We have got our Week 6 picks and predictions this week for 14 NFL games on the slate this week. Let's go ahead and hop right into them. On Thursday Night Football, we have the Washington Commanders taking on the Chicago Bears. The Bears had a nice second half against the Vikings last week. They came out really flat, but they did kind of get things going a little bit. The Commanders could have won the game against the Titans last week. Carson Wentz threw an interception on the goal line, which would have allowed them to go up and probably win the game if they would have scored a touchdown there. Unfortunate, but these things happen, especially with Carson Wentz, unfortunately. This will be a really interesting game because both of these offenses really haven't hit their stride. I think both defenses are underperforming in certain regards as well. This Washington defense was supposed to be super formidable. Their defensive front, all that good stuff. Chicago has had a really leaky run defense as well, so this should be an interesting game here. I am going to pick the Commanders in this one, 20-17. I just have a little bit more faith that they have a bit more of an explosive offense. I did see that Jahan Dotson was out. That could certainly hurt them, but I am going to go with the team that I think has a little bit more talent on that defense right now with that formidable defensive line. Next up, we have the 49ers taking on the Falcons here. The Falcons are 5.5 home underdogs here in this game. I am going to pick the 49ers in this game, 27-19. I just think that the 49ers defensive front is absolutely amazing against the Falcons, who haven't really had a lot of success in the passing game. I'm not sure they're going to be able to take advantage of this really, really talented defense. On the other side of the ball, I think that San Francisco's offense has been looking a lot more efficient with Jimmy G now a couple weeks under center. I think that this team is kind of building in a really good direction right now. The Falcons are still missing some talent. Cordell Patterson's out. Kyle Pitts will probably be back for this game, but he may still be hurt. So definitely just kind of a lot to overcome for this Falcons team. I do have the 49ers winning this game and covering that 5.5 point spread. The next game on the slate is the Cleveland Browns versus the New England Patriots. I have the Browns winning this game 24-20. I have them covering that 2.5 point spread as well. They've been able to run the ball really efficiently, but so have the Patriots, who are their opponent in this game. I expect this to be a relatively low-scoring defensive game, a lot of time of possession for both teams that, they're going to hold the ball long times. There may not be a whole lot of offensive drives in this game, but at the end of the day, I do trust Jacoby Brissett a little bit more than I trust Bailey Zappi, even though he played relatively well last week. I just think that the Browns have a little more talent on both sides of the ball right now, so I am going to pick them in this one, 24-20. The next game on the slate is the Green Bay Packers versus the New York Jets. The Packers are 6.5 point home favorites. Obviously, they lost to the other New York team in London last week. That was a really disappointing game for them. I think it kind of broke the spirits of a lot of Packers fans. The Jets, on the other hand, they sit at 3-2, just like the Packers in this one, which is absolutely crazy. But I have the Packers winning this game here, 24-17. I just think that the Packers are more talented. I think eventually this defense has got to get going. And against a team that has some talent offensively, but they're still kind of learning how to gel together and really kind of learn how to win, I think that this is a game that the Packers should be able to get right on defense. You're going to be able to run the ball against this team. I think that A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones will have big games in this one. Aaron Rodgers just has to do enough in this, and I think he will. I have them winning and covering that 6.5 point spread here at 24-17. The next game on the slate is the Indianapolis Colts, who are 1.5 point home favorites versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars were kind of the hot, fun team that everybody was really excited about, and then they've lost their last 2 games here. The Indianapolis Colts sit at 2-1. They won an absolute slugfest against Denver on Thursday night last week. They're coming off a long week. They are actually favored in this game, which kind of surprised me. I am going to take Jacksonville in this one, 21-17. I just think that Jacksonville right now has a little bit more firepower. I think that they have a more explosive offense. Their defense is playing really well right now, especially against the run. And I'm not sure that Matt Ryan's going to be able to beat this team. Matt Ryan's looked really, really bad thus far. I trust Trevor Lawrence much more than I trust Matt Ryan. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars in this game. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. They are taking on the Minnesota Vikings in Miami here. The Dolphins are 2.5 point home underdogs here. and I'm going to have the Vikings winning this game 23-14. The main issue I have with Miami right now is you don't have Tua, you don't have Teddy Bridgewater. You're going to have Skylar Thompson as your starting quarterback this week. At least that's what the plan is for them right now. They just aren't nearly as explosive offensively with Skylar Thompson in there. Obviously, he's a third-string quarterback. Hill is banged up a little bit. This is just a rough spot for this team right now. They're coming in against a really hot Minnesota Vikings team. They sit at 4-1, and I think that Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, all those guys are going to get off to hot starts in this game. And this defense, though they haven't been super impressive, I think is good enough to kind of contain Skylar Thompson, and the Dolphins don't really have much of a run game either. That makes me really concerned for this Dolphins team. I'm going to have the Vikings winning this one relatively handedly and covering that spread versus the Dolphins. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Saints are 1.5-point home underdogs in this one. It's the return of Joe Burrow, the return of Jamar Chase. A lot of New Orleans fans are looking forward to this one, and for good reason, of course. I think that this will be an interesting game because both these teams were kind of reeling and trying to figure out their identity. They're in very different points of that, I think, right now. But Jameis Winston could be back for this one. Unfortunately, it looks like Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, and Marshawn Lattimore may not play in this one. For the Bengals, T. Higgins, we don't know about that. Both their tackles are banged up as well. So it's kind of an interesting game to look at. I do have the Bengals winning this one 24-20, covering that spread as well. I just think they've got to get on the right track, really, right now. And they kind of showed signs of doing that versus the Ravens on Sunday Night Football last week, but they've taken the step. They need to kind of put it all together. I think against the Saints team that hasn't really lived up to expectations, this is a good chance to do that right now. So definitely a big game for the Bengals and the Saints in this one. Next up, we have the New York Giants hosting the Baltimore Ravens. The Giants are 4.5-point home underdogs. This is an interesting game. Nobody would have expected that the Giants would come into this game with the better record. They sit at 4-1, hot off a win against Green Bay in London. The Ravens, on the other hand, beat the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football. The Giants have run the ball really well so far this year. They've been awesome with Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones, I don't know how healthy he is, but he's been effective at times running the football on the bootlegs. This Ravens team, they've had some really, really good moments. Their offense has looked a little bit less explosive without Rashad Bateman in there. They didn't look amazing versus the Bengals, but this defense kind of clamped up. I think that they're going to win this game. I think they are the better team, even though they have a worse record. I have them winning 27-21. I have them covering that spread and winning this game. Should be an interesting one for sure in New York. The next game on the slate here is the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everybody was just amazed that the Steelers were 14-point underdogs to the Buffalo Bills last week, and they got absolutely blown out of the water. They did not look good at all. Kenny Pickett had a rough go of it in his first NFL start. The defense couldn't stop anything, and you're going up against another really good team here in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady has kind of got his weapons back. Mike Evans is back. Chris Godwin's doing his thing again. They are healthy. Their defense is amazing. I think that this could be a really rough game for Kenny Pickett and the Steelers offense once again. They've had quite a few of those recently. I think this could potentially be another one here. I have the Buccaneers winning this game 27-16. I have them covering that 7.5-point spread. I just think that they have too much talent on defense. Their offense is getting more explosive. And right now, I just don't trust the Steelers. They are not moving the ball offensively. Their defense has been really leaky without TJ Watt. So definitely a big game here. I think the Buccaneers are going to run away with this one a little bit. Next up, we have the LA Rams hosting the Carolina Panthers. The Rams, obviously Super Bowl champions, they dropped to 2-3 last week. They're in a little bit of a panic mode, I think. You've got to win this game against a team that is absolutely reeling right now. I had the Panthers ranked number 32 in my most recent Power Rankings video. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out. I will leave the link in the description. But the Panthers, they fire Matt Rule. Thank goodness, he was terrible. And that can sometimes energize a team. You get Steve Wilks in there. Everybody needs to play really well because you're playing for your jobs at this point. You don't have that coach that believes in you and brought you in. So you're going to be absolutely putting your best out every single week. Now, this Panthers team has some talent. Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore. On defense, you've got Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, Shaq Thompson. They've got lots of good players on this team. They just haven't been able to put it together at all. I think that maybe the firing of Matt Rule will kind of bring this team together a little bit, and I have them covering this 10.5-point spread versus the Rams. I do think the Rams will win this one 23-14. I just think that the spread's a little bit too big against a team I think will be really feisty, going up against a team that has had some serious struggles in the LA Rams. They've not been able to run the football this year. Matthew Stafford does not look comfortable behind that offensive line. They need to get things figured out. I think that they do get a win here, but the Panthers keep this one a little bit closer than 10.5 points. Next up, we've got a really interesting game here. We've got the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Arizona Cardinals, an NFC West divisional matchup in this one. And coming into this year, I would have said, yeah, the Cardinals are probably going to run away with both of these games against the Seahawks. But that was before I knew Geno Smith was an amazing NFL quarterback. He's been the story of the season, I think, undoubtedly. He's been awesome to watch. He had 3 great touchdown passes last week. He's not really showing any signs of slowing down. He has the best completion percentage in the NFL. He's been calculated. He's been an assassin. Really fun to watch. Unfortunately, you do lose Rashad Penny, but I think Kenneth Walker can step into that role pretty well here. You've got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. You've just got to get the defense playing a little bit better. On the Cardinal side of things, I don't believe in the coaching, but I think Kyler Murray and some of the weapons here are also really fun. Hollywood Brown has had a great year. Rondale Moore continues to have some nice flashes, and you're just 1 week away from getting DeAndre Hopkins back. That's really exciting for this team. And I think this defense played really well against arguably the best team in the NFL in the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought that, for a lack of talent that they have on that defense, they played quite admirably. I don't necessarily believe in them to do that again, but definitely something to note there. I have the Cardinals winning this game 28-24. I just think that the Cardinals have a little bit more talent here in this one. The Seahawks have been a fun team to watch. I just don't know that they are, able to match the Cardinals stride for stride in this game. They've had a lot of fun games this year, a lot of upsets, so this will be a fun one to watch. The next game we're going to be talking about is, no doubt about it, the game of the week. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Buffalo Bills in Arrowhead Stadium. This is going to be so much fun. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, this offense looks like they are really, really good right now. On the other hand, the Bills have one of the most explosive offenses I think I've ever seen. Gabe Davis had 2 crazy long touchdowns. They can run the ball. Their defense is really good as well. This is going to be such a fun game to watch. I do have the Buffalo Bills winning this game 33-28. I think this will be a close one. I think it'll be a little bit higher scoring. And this is a rematch of the AFC divisional round in which we saw Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes absolutely take over. I could totally see something like that happening again. This has been such a fun matchup in the past. I think it's going to be such a fun matchup to watch once again this week. And it's a battle of, I think, the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Number 1, number 2. I don't think that that's super crazy to say at all. These guys are playing out of their minds. They are amazing to watch. This is going to be such a fun one. For now, I do have the Bills. They've been able to guard tight ends really well, which makes me think that maybe you can limit Travis Kelce a little bit. I trust their defense a little bit more. And, I just think that they've looked like the better team right now. Could totally see the Chiefs winning this game, but I am going to go with my gut. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills in this one. Though that last game was the game of the week, I think this one isn't too far behind. We've got the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles taking on the 4-1 Dallas Cowboys in an NFC East divisional matchup here. Sounds like Cooper Rush is going to play once again for the Cowboys. That hasn't mattered up to this point. This Cowboys defense is absolutely nuts. They are so much fun to watch. Micah Parsons is an absolute monster, and Dan Quinn is scheming this thing up perfectly. Kellen Moore has done a great job offensively, just limiting what Cooper Rush is doing, giving it to your running backs, putting the ball in your playmakers' hands. Credit to this coaching staff. They've done a great job so far. The Eagles, on the other hand, have also had amazing coaching this season. Jalen Hurts has looked really, really good. Though the past couple of games, he hasn't taken over through the passing game. They've kind of resorted to running the ball really effectively and relying on that defense. They've shown they can win through the air, through the ground, through their defense. This is just such a fun team to watch right now. I am going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles in this game to stay undefeated. I have them winning 26-20, covering that spread. I just trust the Eagles with a little bit more offensive firepower. I think their offensive line is one of the few that can actually match up with this Dallas Cowboys pass rush. So I think that they match up pretty well against this Cowboys team. They can run the ball, they can hold possession, and force Cooper Rush to make plays, which, as great of a job as Cooper Rush has done keeping this team alive and afloat while Dak Prescott's out, I'm not sure he's quite the playmaker that Dak Prescott is. Next up, we have our Monday Night Football matchup here. We have the LA Chargers taking on the Denver Broncos. The Broncos back on primetime. Unfortunately, we all have to watch them again, but I have the Chargers winning this game 28-20. I think that the Chargers have looked much more explosive these past couple of games. They've done a really good job. I'm not totally sold on either of these coaches, but right now I definitely trust Justin Herbert over Russell Wilson. I think that they are kind of hitting their stride in LA there. Denver, on the other hand, this offense looks really broken right now, so I'm going to go with the team that I just think has looked more consistent so far this season. I have the Chargers winning this one, and that'll do it for our Week 6 predictions here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you reach this point in the video, please hit that subscribe button. That helps me out so much. Drop a like as well. That helps me out so much. And go ahead and leave a comment. Which games did I get wrong this week? You know, is there an upset that you guys see that I didn't pick, or maybe a game that I just straight up got wrong in your opinion? Let me know down in the comment section. I really want to know what you guys are thinking this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much. Bye.